Hi everyone, so this is Nikki back with pages 11, 12, 13 and 14 of my December album 2019. So page 11 is super simple, it's just a full page photo, so I'm literally doing nothing to it other than I have my perforated branding strip reserved, ready to go in the pocket for that day, along with my number 11 acrylic from Bramble Fox. So other than that, I'm doing nothing to that side. Then I'm moving on to page 12, which is a really lovely vellum pocket. So I've started off with a sheet of pattern paper, again it's from the Snowflake collection, the 6x8 paper pad, and it's the white paper background with pretty different coloured stars all over it, small ones. I've just cut a piece of vellum, and that is about 5 inches I think tall, or by 6 inches wide, and literally just going to overlay that onto that background. And I'm going to stitch it in place as well. I've also cut 2 cards to go inside the pocket, and that they are 6x4, and they're just out of white card. I'm using 2 perforated strips to decorate the tops of those, plus a strip of vellum punched with my border punch that I'm using all the way through the album. So I am trimming those strips down to 4 inches wide, and those vellum punched pieces are also 4 inches wide, so they're literally going to layer at the top of those cards. I've got the 2 cards. Obviously my little branding strips have got holes in, that's from the way the books are made, the 6x8 pads are made, so I'm just going to obviously cover those with something. Yeah, I'm just getting those strips in place, and literally that's as simple as this page is. So those 2 lovely cards inside those pockets, and I've got obviously the front and back of those cards for photos and journaling, so quite a lot of space there really, and a nice interactive element too. So just adding some stars over those 2 strips, we've jumped to my cards are done. They've both got stars on the top over those holes, and I've punched holes in my main page, and it's gone into the album. So you can see where I had to punch the holes. I used a page protector to make sure they were in the right place, and just inserted it directly into my album, because I didn't want this one in a page protector, because I want to be able to access the cards really easily. So I'm just putting some pretty embellishments on the front of this pocket. So I've gone for some stickers and a chipboard label. My number 12 acrylic by Bramble Fox just sticks directly onto that chipboard sticker. So I didn't need to back it with anything, because it's just going over a white background, so that stands out really well. I've added a couple of star stickers as well, and a couple of word label stickers underneath. One says Winter Wonderland and the other one says Memories. And that is that page done. That was really simple to do, nice and quick. I've sewn the vellum in place with gold machine stitching as well, so that pocket won't be going anywhere, and my pages won't be getting, my cards, sorry, won't be getting stuck inside my pocket, which is what normally happens when I use tape. Moving on to the next page, which is number 13, I'm going to have a white background, and that's going to go directly into my album as well, because it's the reverse of the pocket page that I've just made. So I've punched holes, and it's going to literally be stuck to the other page, but not right now. I'm moving straight on to page 14. 13 just got overlooked because I had this great idea for page 14. Day 14 is the day we fly to Florida. It's a 10-hour flight. We have 3 children, one of which is a very busy 15-month-old. So the flight isn't going to be much fun, and obviously we have many hours to spend at the airport before then and after then as well on our journey. So this is not going to be a fun day, so I never get decent photos, so I thought I would make a list page. So I have spaces for, I had this idea to cut 5 strips of cardstock, put them across the layout, and I've offset them as well, and then I'm adding 5 stars. They're from the chipboard sheet, the snowflake chipboard elements, and I'm putting those one on each one, so I can write 5 different things that happened that day. So if I get photos as well, I'm sure I'll figure out a way of getting them in. In particular, I'll make a tag in a minute that will go in between these 2 pages. Yeah, I can do that. I've cut these strips. I've distressed the edges. I've added a blue strip under the middle one just to make it stand out a little bit. And I have backed my number 14 acrylic on some pink paper and stuck that in place as well. I've also tied it through with some pink twine. So I'm really going for this page. You know, I really thought that I would come back to page 13 and do these 2 together, because as I say, I started with page 14 instead of page 13. But no, I basically complete this page completely before I move on to back to day 13. So, you know, I don't always do everything in order. I normally do, but on this occasion, I just had this idea for day 14 and just had to get on with it. So just fiddling around now with this. I'm fussy cutting out a couple of larger stars from the Speciality cardstock. That's such a beautiful sheet. So I've fussy cut a couple of stars there, and I'm layering those underneath the chipboard stars. I'm adding just a few twiddly bits, really, small bits and pieces, because I want to leave as much of my cardstock white as possible, rather than cover it all up with embellishments. I want to be able to write things on these pages, so I don't want to put too many things on. So I'm using mostly the little teeny tiny stickers from the sticker book, because they lend themselves really well to small embellishments, because there's lots of them and they're really tiny. So that works well for little extra details on a layout like this. So I'll just adding an extra sticker to the top there. No, I decided against it. And just making sure they are all secure. And the number 14 I've stuck down with glossy accents as well, to make sure that that doesn't go anywhere at a later date. So that is pretty much page 14 complete. However, I'm now going to make a tag to go in between these 2 pages. So I just thought it was because I had left no space for photos that I decided that I needed something in between. So I figured I would create a tag to go in the middle. I'm actually fiddling around with some different size templates to go in, insert templates, sorry, but I did settle on the tag in the end. I've made it slightly smaller than the 8 inches tall. I wanted it to be a smaller kind of floating one, and I'm just cut it out of white cardstock, and I've just used a template to work out where my holes need to go. So I've just punched those as well. So I'm starting again with the wrong side, so I'm going for day 14, which means this little tag here needs to relate to where to page 14, and I was thinking that I was going to add some photos and journaling to this tag, but actually I totally got carried away and added a title instead. So I've got a snowman, I've got the pink chipboard piece that says Season of Joy, and then the little black label above it says Catching Snowflakes, and I've added the title Off We Go, because that's what we're doing that day. We are off to Florida. So now I still don't have any space for journaling or for a photo. So I'll figure that out at the time when I come to add my photos. So going backwards now to page 13, I have really wanted to use that snow globe journaling card, but in the end the colour was just wrong. I didn't have any of that goldy colour elsewhere, and it was just too strong, so I've put that to one side to use later, and I've pulled out these 2 journaling cards from the cut apart sheet to use instead. So I actually thought I'd have them at the top, but actually they end up at the bottom. So I've just got them in place. I'm just stressing the edges, and I'm just going to stick them down the bottom there. You can see that they don't fill the whole bottom area completely. So I have this larger gap over on the right hand side, which is fine, but I actually address that in a moment by adding a pink label sticker. So I've added a little flower spray of a couple of red flowers and some leaves. That's from the chipboard sheet. I've added that in the middle of my journaling cards. I've just stuck my 13 Perspective by Bramble Fox onto a piece of pink cardstock. I've just done that with glossy accents. I'm going to let that sit and dry for a few minutes before I trim around it, but that is so that I can place that number 13 anywhere and not be too concerned about what will show through the gap. So just adding in a few stickers. So I've got a hot chocolate, I've got the little label that says hot chocolate and cookies, and then that gold sticker down the bottom says nice and cozy. And then I'm coming in with that pink label, trying to get that in at the top didn't work at all, so actually brainwave was to stick it to the right hand side, which dealt with that gap as well. I covered up the hole for the hole punched to go into my album. So I'm just going to hole punch that through with the Crocodile. I can see the hole on the other side, so it's easy to do. Now my acrylic is dry, so I'm just going to cut that. Well, it's not dry, but it's mostly dry. Held in place anyway. Glossy accents takes ages to dry, don't you think? It's like 24 hours for it's completely dry. Anyway, so I've cut that out now, and I'm tying it through with some pink twine, which is what I've done for all of my acrylics that needed to be tied through in this album. So I'm just adding, just going to stick that in place now. So, oh, my glossy accents is running out and it's just all drying up. So I'm just going to get that stuck in place now. That's just going to sit there nestled in between the chipboard and the tree. And then I'm going to also add this Let It Snow sticker from the sticker book. Yeah, I was coming back to day 14. I obviously was, I don't know why I didn't do this in the first place, but I wanted to add some sequins to it. So just adding those in now, getting those in place. So just a few pretty little sequins on top of those stars. So again, I don't want to cover up too much of my white space. So just adding my sequins on top of my embellishments that are already there. So going back to day 13 again there, I'm just going to work out what can go on the other side of the tag. It doesn't need to say 13 because I've already stuck 13 on the left hand side, so it just needs to be something pretty really, and it doesn't necessarily have to relate to day 13 because I don't know what I'm doing on day 13 yet. Obviously, the off we go for day 14, I do know what we're doing on that day, so I could relate that, but this one I can't. I don't know what we're doing on day 13 other than probably packing and being in a bit of a panic. Just making it pretty. So I'm just use that brown piece of ephemera that I really don't like because I don't like the colour. So I've just put that there, and then I've put, it's really, really cold outside. That's another piece of ephemera. So I've layered that on top. Added a paper clip that says snow day and above it. That's, and a sled. I don't know how cold it will be on that day, but it's pretty cold right now, so I'm guessing it'll probably be pretty cold then too. So just added Stay Cozy as well. Obviously it's our last day before we go away, so we are going to be cold and fed up and okay, so that's my tag complete. That's day 13 complete, and I've added a tree. Did you see that little golden tree that I've added from the thickers? And I'm just going to get this into my album now. So as I said earlier, day 13 is the reverse of day 12, and that's the vellum pocket page that is going to be inserted into the album directly and not in a page protector, which means that day 13 has to be stuck to the back. So I've just stuck those two pieces together with tape, and I've punched holes using my Crocodile, and then I've got the tag in the middle, and then I have got day 14. So my stars were just overhanging slightly, so in order to get that into the page protector I just had to trim those down, and that's that done. So that was days 11, 12, 13 and 14. So there's page 11 and 12, and you can see those cards there. Day 13 has got the day 13 as well as the tag, and then Off We Go is part of day 14. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. That was Niki Rowland, and I'll be back soon with some more pages.